Today in our 2013 Jeep Grand Cherokee, we're going to be taking a look at and showing you how to install the Blue Ox base plate kit with removable arms, part number BX1128.
Keep in mind this is only one component of our flat toe setup. You're going to need a tow bar and a braking system along with the tow bar wiring.
So here's what our base plate looks like once we have it fully installed. Now this is going to be the connection point from our motorhome where our tow bar is going to hook up to our Jeep. It's going to take a lot of strain and stress off the front suspension of our Jeep because it's going to evenly distribute that towing weight across the front of the frame here. Whenever we're not towing, the arms are removable. We can simply pull on this pin, rotate it, and they'll come out, and now we'll have a very clean, almost hidden look whenever we're not towing. And to make sure that our base plate is going to stay nice and clean, we can put the provided plastic caps in, and it'll keep all the dirt, grime, and debris from getting inside. Our safety chain connection points are going to be right next to our attachment tabs, so we're not going to have too much trouble getting most size hooks on or off, and they'll be in a convenient spot to hook everything up. Now our Blue Ox base plate is going to work with several different Blue Ox tow bars, as well as some Roadmaster tow bars with an adapter which is sold separately. And the distance between our two mounting tabs is going to be 34 3/4 inches. Our base plate is going to have a durable steel construction and a black powder coat finish, which is going to help resist rust and corrosion and also help it blend in on the lower section of the grill here. Now when it comes to installing our base plate, we're not going to have to weld anything. There's going to be some minor drilling and it's going to bolt directly to the frame. So now that we've seen what our base plate looks like and gone over some of the features, let's show you how to get it installed. To begin our installation, we're going to need to remove our fascia. So we're going to move to the front on the bottom side, and we're going to have 4 pushpin fasteners that we're going to have to pull out. Now, there's going to be a small notch on either side. We're going to take a flat blade screwdriver or a trim panel tool. We'll come in underneath that notch, and we're going to pop out the center section of the pushpin first. That's going to release the tension. Then once that center section's popped out, we'll come out underneath the outer section and we'll pull the rest of the push pin out. And we'll repeat that for all 4 on the front section of our fascia here. Now if we move into the front wheel well area, we're going to have a couple plastic rivets. And we're going to have to remove these, and the easiest way to remove those is going to be drilling them out. So you're just going to take a small drill bit, we're going to drill the center section out, and don't worry, our kit is going to come with replacement plastic rivets. Once we drill it out, we should be able to pull the rivet out, and we'll do the same thing for the one towards the bottom here. Now to right above those plastic rivets, we're going to have a bolt that's in the inside of our wheel well. So we'll grab a 10mm socket and we can pull it out. And then if we follow that further back towards the top, we're going to have a push pin, just like the one underneath, that's going directly up into the wheel well. We'll pull that one out as well. So with all the fasteners removed here, we're going to do the same thing on the other side. Now on the bottom side of each wheel well, right where that felt liner meets the bottom, we're going to have this 1/4 turn fastener. So we're just going to turn it counterclockwise until we can pull it out. And we'll do that for both sides. Now our Jeep has this plastic trim that's going to go around the wheel well here. We're going to want to pull that away. We'll just gently pull, and there'll be some clips that are holding it in place. Just want to make sure we get all those unclipped, at least until we get to the section where our fender is going to meet the fascia. Now they may get stuck a little bit, but if you look in there, you can see there's a small tab. Kind of just pry on that tab a little bit until we get it to come out. And you want to pull this away from both sides, that way where the fender meets the fascia will be free. Now we can get ready to pull our fascia off, and keep in mind if you have fog lights or any other electronics, you don't want to pull away too far once you get it unhooked. But we'll start where the fender meets the fascia, and we're just going to pull outward to where those clips are going to undo themselves. And we're going to work our way towards the center, and once we get to the headlight, we may need to put a little more pressure towards the center so that we get the rest of the fascia off. And once we have it removed, again, we'll come to our fog lights. There's going to be a tab. I'm going to squeeze that tab and disconnect it. And then we're going to set our fascia aside where it won't get damaged. Now inside the engine compartment, towards the driver's side, we're going to have our washer bottle. And there's going to be a push pin that's holding the filler neck in place. We're going to want to remove that push pin. It's going to work just like the other ones. Pull that center section out, and then we'll pull the rest of the push pin out. Now over here on the driver's side, just below our headlight, we're going to have our actual washer tank. We're going to want to pull the wiring loose as well as the hoses. Then we can come down to the connector. We're going to want to slide that red piece outward so that we can press in on that gray tab. We'll disconnect the connector. Now we're going to have to pull the hoses off. But keep in mind that once we pull these hoses off, the fluid is going to come out of the back end. So one side, we'll just give it a twist. We're going to work the hose out. You may have a little bit of fluid come out, but the majority of it's going to be coming out of this hose once we disconnect it. So that'll be the last hose we pull off. But if we move up, we'll have one bolt that's holding it on top here. And if we move down to the front of our Jeep, we're going to have another one. So I'm going to go ahead and remove this one with an 8mm socket. And then I'm going to loosen the one on top. Maybe just leave a couple threads in there. That way the washer tank will support itself while I'm removing that last hose. This is going to come out the same way. And you can see it is going to start coming out. So you just want to plug that with your finger. We can remove the bolt. And we'll remove the washer tank. And we can put a plug in there to make sure it's not going to leak everywhere. Now to plug my washer tank, I just took a screw that I had laying around that was about the same size as the filler tube there and just put it inside, so hopefully we won't lose too much fluid. Now on each side we're going to have this plastic cover attached to that bottom piece, and this is actually what's covering coming through our fascia, but that's right in the location where our base plate's going to go. So let's remove them by pulling this push pin out at the bottom. We'll also have one on the side here that's going to be holding it in place as well. Just want to make sure to get that cover completely off on both sides, that way we have room for the base plate to come through. We can grab one of our base plate sides here. Now we're going to have a round hole with the tab. We want to make sure that tab is facing towards the inside, the round hole towards the front, and then this tab at the back side needs to be on the bottom. We're just going to loosely kind of rest it on the frame right there. But before we slide it all the way in, we're going to take a couple of the large spacers and we're going to drop them down through the slot in the base plate here. Just so they're resting on top like that. And if we look on the bottom of the frame, we're going to have two holes. Those two holes are going to line up with the two holes that are on our base plate. So we can push it in to where they're close to being lined up, and then we can get our hardware ready. We're going to grab one of the 10mm bolts out of our kit. Now this is going to be the shorter of the two 10mm bolts. And before we put it in, you want to make sure you put some Loctite on there. And if you need some, you can pick some up on our website. And we'll take a lock washer, slide it over our bolt, follow that up with a flat washer, and that's going to be the same combination for both holes. So we'll slide the bolt through our base plate, line it up with the threaded hole in the bottom of the frame, and we'll get it started by hand to help support the base plate. Then we'll raise the other bolt into position and get that one started as well. I'm going to come back with a 17mm socket and snug those up. Now where those two spacers went through our base plate, we're going to have two holes at the top of the frame here. We're going to want to take our spacer plate that's got two holes in it. We're just going to loosely get it in place to where it's close to lining up with those holes. And then we're going to take a 3/8 bolt, lock washer and flat washer, and again put a little bit of Loctite on it, and we're going to go through the bottom, through the spacer, up through that spacer plate. Now once we go through the spacer and we get it lined up with our block, kind of want to drop it down a little bit because you see that there's a slight gap in there between the spacer and the top of here. We're going to want to take the large washer and we're going to slide it in between the top of the spacer so that our bolt will go through that as well, and then so that it goes into the top of the frame and through that block. And this is just to take up some of that space and make sure we have a tight fit. And once we have our bolt passed through, put another flat washer and then a lock nut to secure everything down. We'll do that for both the holes going through the bottom of our base plate. Come back with a 9/16 wrench and socket, and we're going to snug up our hardware so it's not moving around. So with everything up front secure, we're going to grab our side plate. And you notice it is going to have a slight taper to it. We want that lower edge to be facing towards the front and on top. Now the bottom two holes are going to line up with the two holes in the back of our base plate here. So it's going to be resting in position about like this. And then we'll take our 3/8 bolts, about 1.5 inches long, with a lock washer and flat washer. And again, all the hardware is going to get red Loctite, but we're going to be going through the plate into the inside of the base plate. Now we're going to be using a nut plate. We're going to have to bend this handle so it fits on the inside of our base plate, and that's what our bolts are going to be attaching to. Just bend the handle a little bit and get an idea of how far it needs to go in. We'll slide it in through the back, and we can line up the hole so that our bolt will catch on that. Take our plate, put our bolt through. Then we want to get this at least started on there. And once you have both handle nuts inserted on that bottom plate, we'll go ahead and tighten everything up. You want to make sure you leave the handle on the handle nut, because whenever we go to torque it, that's going to prevent it from spinning on the inside. Now at the top of the plate, where we have our two holes, we're going to use that as a template because we're going to be drilling through the frame rail right here. It's always a good idea to double check, make sure there's nothing there that's going to interfere with anything. But we'll grab a 3/8 drill bit and we're going to drill through these two holes. With our holes drilled, we'll take our smaller 3/8 bolts, about 1.25 inches long. We're going to pass them through the frame along with our lock washer. And then on the back side, we'll just reach over our frame and get a lock nut in place. We'll come back with a 9/16 wrench and socket, and we'll snug that hardware up. So with this side completely done, we're just going to repeat that same process and combination of hardware on the driver's side. Now we'll come back and we're going to torque all of our hardware down, and we'll find the specification in our instructions. With everything torqued, we can come back to our handle nuts. I'm just going to take a pair of side cutters. I'm going to grip down pretty tight, but then I'm just going to bend the handle back and forth while I'm squeezing on the side cutters. And we can break the excess off. We'll do that for each side. Now the tab that's towards the back of our base plate that we haven't used anything yet for, that's going to be for our permanent safety cables. We'll have a quick link and two cables And basically what we want to do is we want to take our cable and wrap it around the frame and then attach it back the attachment point. So we'll just route the cable over the frame to where we can reach it, bring it back around, and we can even take the other end and come forward, taking up some of the slack. So we'll just open up our quick link, make sure it's unthreaded all the way. We'll go around the hook on the base plate and then put both ends of our safety cable in place. And to make sure everything's nice and tight, we'll come back with a 3/4 inch wrench and make sure that quick link is nice and snug and it's not going to come unthreaded. And depending on how you routed your safety cables, you may have a little bit of excess. You can always take a zip tie or two and tie up the excess. You just want to make sure you stay away from any kind of coolant lines or air conditioning lines that may be close to the frame. So we'll go ahead and put the other one on as well. Now we can get our washer tank back in position. Just want to lift it up, making sure everything lines back up. Then we can get our hardware back in place and start connecting all of our electrical components and hoses. Now with an extra set of hands, we're going to bring our fascia as close as possible to where it's going to sit. That way we can see if we're going to need to do any kind of trimming around these holes here. But it looks like everything's going to fit, so we should be able to just make sure everything lines up underneath here, and then we can put all the clips back in place. Then we can just start putting all the fasteners back in the reverse order that we took them out. And these push pins, you want to push the outer section in first and then lock it down by pushing the inner section in. We can start clipping our wheel well trim back in place. Just want to line up the tabs and then press it in to make sure it locks in. Since we had to drill out those rivets in our wheel well liner, our kit is going to come with new rivets. So we'll take a plastic rivet gun, we'll set them in there, we'll line them up so they fit through the hole, through the liner, and where it needs to go. And you want to make sure you get a full grab on it. So once you have a grab, we'll release it and keep setting it until the tip end breaks. Sometimes the rivet will set, but the plastic won't break off. So if you're doing it a couple times and it's not going to break like this one is, but we can make sure that it's set in there, you can actually just take a pair of side cutters and cut the tail off. And we'll do that process for all the locations that we drilled out for our rivets. That'll finish up your look at the Blue Ox base plate kit with removable arms, part number BX1128 on our 2013 Jeep Grand Cherokee.